Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel, and as you can see on the screen in front of you, today's installment is all about the brand new G.I. Joe Classified Series Footloose figure. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about Footloose. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you'll have good, thorough information to make your purchase decision around. I'll start by taking a look at the packaging on the day that it arrived on my doorstep, just talk it through for the mint box collectors or for people interested in the peg presents. Then get into the figure itself, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, have a chat about articulation and posability, then move into the accessories and discuss those and how much added value they bring to the set. And with all that said and done, you'll know whether you're walking down the aisle in Target and you see him, whether he's for you, whether he's good for your money, or if you've got the pre-order in, whether you want to keep the pre-order. So let's get into it, let's get started, and let's jump back in time and visit past Chris as he takes a look at the packaging for the first time on the day it arrived on my doorstep. I've just knocked the bazooka over. Okay then, folks, well, here is Footloose in packaging, standard G.I. Joe classified packaging nowadays. We've got the big window showing off the figure and all the goodies, the logo. He's a Joe character, got his name in the corner, the same sort of background carbon fiber design, choking hazard thing. It's all standard now, really leaning into showing off the figure on the front. Then on the back there, we've got this digital render showing Footloose in action. If you're interested to know which G.I. Joe Real American Hero episode that's referencing, that's a little Easter egg there, then please do check out my Easter eggs video. Go hunt it out on my channel. A couple of breakout windows showing off some key features, got the number in the corner, legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. And then, of course, we've got the data card giving us some information about Footloose. Let's learn about Footloose together, shall we, folks? So here we got a little boot there. This is because Footloose is a massive West End musicals fan, and his favourite musical of all time is Kinky Boots. Then we got this little rocket here. This is because Footloose has got a strange obsession with Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos' attempts to fly to space in his cock-shaped rocket. Then we got a fist bump, because why not? And then finally, this little scene here, there's some palm trees out in the desert. This is actually the palm trees and desert of Dawn, which is obviously very relevant to Footloose. Got some painted artwork on the side there of Footloose, throwing up a victory sign. That one's all right. It's decent-ish. I've said it a few times recently. This artwork's, I don't know, I prefer some of the older stuff, to be honest. Then on the other side, the file card again, the figure number again, the QR code to nowhere. Yeah, all that good stuff. And there you go. That's what you get in terms of the packaging experience with Footloose. So I'm going to go crack this bad boy open, get good and hands-on, get some man-child playtime in, do some posing, take some photos, make some displays, all the usual good stuff. And while I'm doing that, I'll gather up some solid review thoughts. So I'll be back in a couple of days to share some thinking with you about Footloose. Let's do it. Let's go visit Future Chris now in 3, 2, 1. All right, the first one here is Footloose, just the core figure as he was out of the package. We'll talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience to begin with, and here's the head-to-toe view of the figure. Clearly, as I like to sort of dwell on a lot of the times, clearly very heavily inspired by the vintage figure. He's in the kind of green camo colour scheme, which he was in the vintage figure and in the cartoon, in the Sunbow cartoon. He's got the stash, he's got the webbing, the black grenade here on his chest. You know, all that comes together. When we talk about the accessories later on, you'll see the loadout is very, very similar to the loadout that he had as the vintage figure, the vintage character. So all very heavily inspired by the vintage figure with a little touch of Sunbow, but not a massive touch. I would probably say the face shape and look has a little bit of Sunbow about it. Not a lot, but a little bit. But of course, a lot of people have talked about the Pedro Pascal likeness in there as well. Interestingly enough, before I move on to articulation, I'm going to do a little tangent in this video, folks. So pre-warning, a little tangent, because my understanding and association with Footloose here in the UK as an Action Force comics reader from the 80s is a little bit different. So we'll do a little sideline, a little sidestep to talk about that, shall we? But I'll do the core review element on the aesthetic first. Bringing him a bit nearer to the camera then, let's get a closer inspection conducted, and here's the head sculpt, folks. And he's up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard. Good facial features, good sculpting, you can see the cheeks, the chin, obviously the that visual identifier for the Footloose character, the stash there, the classic stash, good paint applications across the eyebrows and the eyes. He's got his reddy brown hair, although it looks much redder under my studio lights than it actually is. It's a bit more on the browner side there, but you can see it's got good sculpting in the hair as well to bring it to life, although how frequently you might pose it without the helmet on, I suppose, is up for debate. So yeah, nice, good quality stuff, unique. It's it's clearly Footloose, no two ways about it. I love the kind of wrinkling around the eyes. I think that's a really nice touch. We're a bit further down into the figure. You can see he's got the the camo paint design on his uniform. Got the webbing over the top here. The webbing is all individually sculpted with various bits and bobs on it. The grenade's painted black, although it could, as always, I'll say it could have benefited from a few paint applications on the clasps or the studs and stuff. Got his nice open collar on the shirt there, showing off a bit of chest. Although one thing I will say is that the skin tone of this bit of chest here is different to the neck and head up top. It's negligible, but it's enough that it might bother some. Got some nice further details in here. Got a decal on the shoulder there with his red four-leaf clover. With his military US Armed Forces insignia, I think that is, on that side there. Got some nice bits around the back as well here. So you got this, his little med pack kits that are sculpted in the black there. And then a spare magazine tucked into this little pouch here, which appears to be sculpted in. So it's not removable, but it's a nice little wee touch. Got his little digital watch on his wrist, got his wristband there, these little touches. I've said before about the kind of giving the characters symmetry to make them visually appealing, and that's fulfilling that function there. And then you can see in the uniform, we've got the usual kind of textured detail, the fabric textured detail in the pants and stuff, and around these padded sections of his knees. Some sculpted detail here. You can see where the sleeves are rolled up at the sides and things, bunching up down here across the top of the boots. And then you can see that his pant line goes over the top of his boots, and you got a little bit of paint application in there, a little splash of colour on the boots. But yeah, we've seen these legs and feet before a couple of times now, so and that's all fine. I've not talked about it for a while, but I'll mention it here. We've also got a little bit of the old shiny chest. The plastic on the chest section, it's disguised quite nicely by the webbing, but there's a bit of shininess to this section under here compared to the trouser legs and the sleeves, which sometimes irks me. The camouflage pattern in his uniform's nice. Again, like I say, it's very heavily inspired by the sort of vintage look of the figure. Although I seem to remember in the cartoon it was a bit more patchy, like a deeper green and a bit more patchy, but I might recall that incorrectly. Interestingly enough, I'll go on to it in more detail in a minute, but for me in the UK, he was in desert camo. He was in desert camo Footloose. So this is definitely a little bit of an aesthetic departure to what I associate the character as looking like, but I'll show you that in the comics in a minute. So aesthetically then, it's a thumbs up. It has to be. He's a solid toy soldier, visually appealing for those looking for their nostalgia from their Sunbow or nostalgia from their vintage figure. Good look for those who are into the more military kind of toy soldiery aspects of the line. He uniformly syncs well with your other more kind of military uniform focused characters on the Joe side of the shelf. So it's working. Yeah, it's working. Is he a bit bland for me? Yes, he is, but I don't discredit the figure for that one bit. Regulars around these parts know that I like the more science fiction, the more fantastical side of G.I. Joe sometimes. But as a good, solid toy soldier, yeah, he's got it going on. He's got it going on, for sure. All right, I'll move on to articulation in a minute, but let's take a wee little detour for a moment. Let me just show you a little bit of something about what Footloose means to UK fans, shall I? Okay, so I've got some old Marvel UK Action Force comics here. I just said I'd take a momentary tangent, so indulge me. It's an indulgence, but indulge me if you will, because Footloose, as you can see here, is on the cover of number 1. He forms a key part of Flint's team. There he is. Here he is, getting a briefing. They're about to go and there he is on patrol. You can see he's in the desert camo colours that I mentioned earlier on, and he doesn't have the camouflage netting on top of his helmet. And these were storylines that were uniquely written for the Marvel UK Action Force comics. So they took old Larry Hama G.I. Joe comics, altered the speech bubble text in them, and also wrote their own supplementary stories inside them as well. So that's how I knew Footloose. And if we take a look at his intelligence profile in a later issue, I'm pretty sure it's in this one here somewhere towards the back. No, a bit earlier, a bit sooner than that. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. If you have a look at his intelligence profile, he's got the camo netting at the top there in this picture. But you can see that he was born in Dundee, Scotland. He's part of the British Special Forces. Head boy at his school, captain of the football team, youngest competitor in the Highland Games, went to university, did a degree in Celtic mythology and physical education, served in the Special Air Service, the SAS, which is, of course, where the Marvel UK version of Flint served as well. So all very interesting. So that's my kind of association around Footloose. But Footloose then did later appear in some reprinted Larry Hammer storylines. I think this was the one here. And if I just show you in the little intro blurb, you'll see that we've got a personnel breakdown here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm zoomed out. Blowtorch, Flint, Gung-Ho, Long Slide, Ripcord, and Wild Bill. And if I turn to Twin Brothers Part 2, page 8, which is when the Tomax and Zaymot were introduced in the Action Force comic. Oh, I'll tell you what, the poster in here as well, quite timely, is the Snowcat. But this is Footloose appearing in this story here. I'm just trying to find him in the storyline somewhere. There he is, without his camouflage netting again. But in this storyline and in subsequent reappearances, where he's in the green camouflage, he's called Long Slide in the UK Action Force comics. So there you go. That's not Footloose for me. That's Long Slide. Anyway, bit of an indulgence, but hopefully you found that interesting. I'll get back to the usual review now, and I think it's Articulation next. All right, folks, well, it's Articulation and Posability time now, and I'll call it out up top, as I often do. Footloose is standard G.I. Joe Classified Series Articulation, so if you're familiar with that, you don't need to know any more. Then please make use of the chapters that I've popped in and jump ahead to the accessories and added value section of the review. But if this is the first G.I. Joe Classified Series review you've ever watched, or you want to know if there's any quirks or anything particularly interesting about Footloose, then stick around and I'll walk you through it. And I'm going to start up top with the head. So it's the standard ball at the base of the neck, ball at the base of the head. That's your down, which is a bit tight actually. That's your up. All the way round, full Axis 360, tilt and swivel, the usual routine there as far as the head articulation goes. Then moving down into the shoulders, we've got the butterfly joint there, giving you a bit of shuffle forward and back, and then the standard peg and hinge in the armpits, meaning you can go all the way around full 360 and get him out to a T like that. Swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep, finless double elbow that'll get you up to there, and then the pegged in hands, which can swivel all the way around in the wrist, and then this right one has got the up and down, and this left one's got the forward and back. Moving into the torso, we've got the hinge ab crunch and then ball in the waist. The hinge ab crunch you can get some use out of. The webbing is just loose enough that it's not restricting that too much and moves with the figure. And then the ball joint, you've got your swivel and twist in there, nice and easy. Standard G.I. Joe Classified Series drop down joint in the hips there, which give you good forward. Got your Russian ballet out to there. Then the swivel at the top of the thigh. Finland's double knee, that'll get you up to there. The boot cut is at the ankle here, under the pant leg trouser line. And then the standard hinge and rocker for the feet articulation. So it's a thumbs up. Articulation is the usual, up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard. Wide range of posability. You can really explore your imagination and tell your stories with your displays, your dios, your photos, and he can accommodate whatever your imagination is trying to do with the figure. The only note I'll just sort of throw in at the end, but I'm throwing it in now because it's, as far as the review thought goes, I can only speak to my one. A little bit loose. Got a little bit of a loose ankle here on the right foot. A little bit loosey-goosey in the shoulder. Well, just in general, just a little bit loose. It's not been too loose. It's been okay, and he's actually been quite pliable, but I'm not used to it, I suppose, with my G.I. Joe Classified. Sometimes they're a bit crunchy. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So make of that what you will. Okay, so there's articulation. Let us now take a look at the accessories and added value, shall we? And the first item on the agenda is Footloose's helmet. Again, we're talking about visual identifying features. Footloose's helmet with the camo netting across the top there is part of the character's identity, and you can see that they've replicated that, although with a classified, modernized twist. So they've added the night vision goggles that are fitted on the front and don't fold down. So yeah, a little bit, not a great deal of functionality, and that does sort of get in the way. So it's not just the helmet, as you might more readily in your mind's eye picture Footloose, but they've added that little kind of classified twist along with the headphones and the communicator around the front. Got the chin strap here. Chin strap's a bit of a fidget and a fuss to get on, but you know, just a little bit of finessing in you there, kind of thing. But it looks good, yeah. 2 different shades of green in the camo netting there to the rest of the helmet. Yeah, the night vision bit at the front. So yeah, absolutely adding to the visual flair of the character for sure. And then it's into the weapon selection, starting with the I was about to say an M16, but that's not an M16, is it? Somebody corrected me on this in a previous video's comments. So you'll have to remind me. It was probably Billy. Was it you, Billy? Let me know again, Billy. Sorry, I've not retained that information from last time you pointed it out to me. But yeah, a single piece of molded plastic. It's definitely very gummy look, guys. Very wibbly wobbly, as it was with like Mutton Junkyard and stuff. Removable magazine or clip. Little scope at the top there. Yeah, fine. I like when these come with the kind of more toy soldiery figures, the more toy soldiery characters. They just feel a little bit more gritty and real, don't they? To be kitted out with a piece of weaponry that's kind of aligned to real armaments. Then we've got his small arms, this pistol. We've seen this before several times. Single piece of molded plastic. Same as always, really. It's well sculpted, but could do with a bit of a dry brush or a little bit of something to bring it to life, but it's fine. And he's got a holster on his figure, just around the side here, off to the back. You can just pop the pistol in, like so. Then a little knife here. Again, we've seen this before. Always nice to see the paint application on the blade, giving it the metallic blade colour. But it's fine, yeah. Got a little handle and stuff. All good. And this has got a sheath on his webbing there. You just slide it in. Whoop, like so. There we have the rocket launcher and rocket here. The rocket pops in there like that. Let's just have a quick look at this. So it's, you know, just a rocket-shaped rocket with a green end and a black bottom, which is fine. Which slides into the end of the rocket launcher. I think I misnamed it a bazooka earlier, didn't I, actually? Ooh, brought myself out on that one before you guys did in the comments. So, you know, black tubular pattern, little shoulder mount, carry strap, little decal on the front here with the I don't know, what's that, a shark or something? That's probably got some relevance that I don't know. But yeah, which gives it a little splash of personality, a little bit of character. You know, got the scope and the sights on the top. Yeah, that's all fine. And, you know, the strap works pretty well for him to carry it. It's all right to get on his shoulder for mounting it for a picture for him shooting it, although it is, you have to finesse it. It is a bit of a fidget to kind of get it nicely lined up with his hand on top, you know, firing the rocket out. No blast effects or anything with that there, but yeah, it's fine. You know, it's fine. Again, you know, the vintage figure came with one. It's part of the, you know, the character's sort of identifying features. Great to see. And then finally, we've got the backpack. Again, we've seen this one before. This is reuse, which is all fine. Good sculpted detail in there. No paint applications, though. No splash of colour. Nothing to give it a bit more depth. Letting down those backpack sculptors at Hasbro once again. Look at the work they do. Great sculpting, but then just not even a little bit, not even a clasp. Not even a little black plastic clasp or something on there. Now, one thing I have noticed with the backpack, the peg, the peg hole on his back's a bit shallow, and this is super long. Look. So my backpack on Footloose is a little bit sticky outy. I mean, I will correct that. You know, obviously not hard to sort that out, but I've obviously kept it as is for the purposes of this video review, just to show what it's like, you know, fresh out of package. So the accessory selection's all right. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I mean, yeah, you know, what do you give it? An infantryman? Is he an infantryman? What do you give him? You give him a rifle, a pistol, a knife, a rocket launcher, and a backpack. And a helmet. You know, it's all fine, and it's all kind of on brand and everything. I must admit, I found it a bit boring. But then, you know, I've just had Darklon with his bloody broadsword or whatever it is. So that may be influencing my decision a little bit. Because, you know, he's got everything that he needs or should have. Do I want more? Of course I want more. I always want more, but it's all fine. I mean, there's a lot of reuse in there. You know, the rifle, the pistol, the knife, and the backpack we've seen before, but that bothers me less, you know, because it's, you know, it's a military character. It's uniformal, isn't it? So yeah, it's fine. It's decent. I've got no complaints. It just is what it is, if you know what I mean. So there you go. There's the accessory selection. All right then, let's take a look at Footloose next to a couple of other characters now, shall we? And to get us started, here is Footloose with Flint. Going back to my comments before about the Action Force comics, Flint was the leader of the UK-based Action Force, and Footloose was a part of his team, so I've got strong associations of these two guys together. Alongside Lady Jane, who was also a key member of Flint's Action Force team in the older 80s Action Force comics that I used to read. Here he is next to Big Ben, Night Force Big Ben, who, well, I just happened to have him out because I was taking some photos with him yesterday, and I like the character. I like the Big Ben character, but their uniformal colours don't match nicely, do they? They're a bit of a clash, I think. And finally, here he is with fellow wave mate Blowtorch. There we go, folks. Here's Footloose making his way around on the turntable for you to get a 360 view of the figure. And while you take a look at him, hang on, crisis! I've just dropped the rocket. Woo, there it is. Panic over, folks. It didn't end up going to the carpet monster. I saved it. I saved it, or the rug monster. I don't have a carpet in here. I'll just pop that by his feet there for safekeeping. Oh, jeez. Yeah, you won't believe it. Heavy duty. I've lost a couple of his little bloody rockets. The heavy duty? Or heavy metal? Heavy metal. One of the two. Anyway, they're pissy little rockets. What was I talking about? Yeah, so final thoughts. And yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He's a good solid G.I. Joe, you know. I mean, I said it before. I use the phrase again. This is for the toy soldier fans, you know. And I've certainly got no criticisms of the figure, other than the fact that I personally find him a little bit boring, a little bit bland. But I'm not holding that against the figure because that's just all about my personal preference, you know. So if you're heavily into the more kind of military-inspired aspects of G.I. Joe and you want a nice kind of military-looking line on your shelf, then this guy will fit right in for you. No problems at all. But he's up to the usual standard. Good head sculpt, you know, overall good sculpting, good gear, you know, great articulation. No complaints whatsoever. No complaints whatsoever. And I absolutely do get my guys out with my little forest scene and get them posed up in a you know, a little jungle or foresty kind of thing, and he will work perfectly with that. So no complaints at all. I think he's rock solid, just a good, solid lump. You know, concrete slab, boom, there's your toy shoulder, G.I. Joe. And of course, I've got that nostalgic association with the character, as I explained to you before. So there we are. There's Footloose, folks. Okay, well, as always, invite you to the comments down below. Share your thoughts. Have you got your Footloose yet? What do you think of him? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? All that good stuff. Do all the YouTube bits as well with liking and subscribing. But hopefully, if you're thinking of picking one up, that's helped you make your mind up. So yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out, guys. And you know, if you got the time, check out another video of mine, or certainly come back around for another video sometime soon. All right? Okay, well, all that remains to say is have a great day, have a great week, and I'll see you on the other side, ladies and gents. He says, speaking words slowly so Footloose comes back around to the front before he finishes the video. All right, ta-ra, folks. Bye-bye now.